Hi, my name is Raphael Karen. I'm a research analyst with Infotech Research Group, and today we're going to talk about data privacy compliance and legislation. We'll talk about what everyone should know about privacy compliance. What is privacy? Why should everyone care about privacy? What IT leaders need to know? And I'll give you some tips to get you started. So at a very high level, there are two classes of privacy legislation. Privacy, which refers to any personally identifiable information, and some examples of that are the Massachusetts Data Privacy Act and the EU's Data Protection Directive. And then privacy laws that pertain to protection of personal data that's considered sensitive in certain industries, like health records, that would be HIPAA, student records, that'd be FERPA, and some financials, that would be GLBA regulations. So what does IT need to know about basic privacy principles? Well, there's 7 blanket privacy principles, and they are notice, choice, onward transfer, access, security, data integrity, and enforcement. The ones that really involve IT's participation are notice, onward transfer, security, and enforcement. Starting with notice. Notice is a principle that essentially says that you have to inform visitors to your site, your clients, anyone that you come across with as an organization, what type of information you're collecting on them. And the reason that IT needs to be involved is because there's often things like cookies and websites. There's often forms that IT uses as part of custom application and web application. And so, notice on those specific bits of information needs to be presented to clients as part of the overall application or website. Onward transfer is another principle IT needs to be aware of, and that's essentially how third parties use your private data. And the reason that's important is because you may have vendors that are sharing in your private data, and you want to make sure that they're also upholding privacy principles. And furthermore, you're supposed to give notice of any data that you share with third parties. So that's sort of another principle, onward transfer. The most obvious one that most IT folks are aware of are security. And that's because folks in heavily regulated industries like healthcare, finance, education, and government really do have specific measures around how to keep that sensitive data secure. And then the fourth principle is enforcement, and that essentially means that you have to prove that you're compliant with these 7 principles by having proof of your policies and essentially documenting all the measures that IT's taken to demonstrate privacy compliance. So here are some tips to get you started if you haven't launched into a privacy initiative in IT. You'll want to ensure that the organization has a privacy policy and a web privacy statement that advises of cookie use on your site. It also should advise of any information that you collect and how it will be used. You'll want to ensure that every IT project you launch into adheres to those privacy principles by adding a checklist to each project requirement. Essentially, it goes through the principles and says, which of these apply to this project? How do we need to alter our notice statements to ensure that we are in line? And then finally, make sure that any vendors that you're sharing private data with are also adhering to the privacy principles and disclose the data that you're sharing with vendors or third parties as part of your privacy policy. Thanks again for joining me today for this very brief video, and we'll see you next time.